Hello, and thank you for joining in again for our interview with our special guest, Michael Otter, and of course, Clemens Wasner. A small housekeeping matter again, since the session will be recorded as a single session and will be also available on YouTube later. Michael, maybe you would like to introduce yourself for our guests.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Michael. I'm head of ADVANTAGE Austria, the worldwide Austrian trade promotion organization with about 100 offices all over the world.
Thank you very much for joining. Maybe a first question to you. You said you're kind of like head of Austria's trade promotion organization. Why does your organization organize or participate in such events like the Applied AI conference in sales and marketing, which is basically part of B2B matchmaking and an event with a strong focus on innovation features?
Well, the main thing was, I think, this innovation feature, and it all started a couple of years ago where we saw, I just mentioned, we have about 100 offices all over the world. We have about 750 people working for us, and all of my staff, they speak about 75 different languages. So it's quite a powerful network distributed all over the world. And what we realized is roughly 10 years ago, that we don't only want to use this network to promote Austrian exports, which was our core task, but we want these 750 people to act as sensors in bringing innovation into Austria. So the idea was to bring the best of Austrian innovation out to the world, but also to bring the best innovations from all over the world into Austria. And by the way, not many people know we have many hidden champions in Austria, which we also wanted to promote.
Thank you very much. A very worthy cause and a good goal. Maybe switching to Clemens, many participants may be quite surprised that Austria organizes such an event. I mean, what makes Austria special in the field of AI?
I think the panel only has 30 minutes, so I think make this as short as possible. I mean, Michael mentioned that Austria is full of hidden champions. And this is also something you can see in the AI space. So we have a lot of companies in the field of AgTech and GreenTech. This is, for example, in the videos we play during the breaks all the time. You see there are lots of companies doing this. We have companies which are among the pioneers when it comes to synthetic data. We are very good when it comes to regulation on a European level, like how to turn this into products and so on. So basically, insofar, the AI space reflects also the brick and mortar space when it comes to lots of hidden champions and specialization. On a broader level, there are, of course, countless studies have been done. How do the individual countries compare and so on? And even in the international studies, you see that Austria is always among the top 5 in the European Union when it comes to AI startup activity per capita, plus additionally, so-called deep tech startups within this, let's say, AI startups. And I think this is also special as it reflects, first of all, the R&D heritage we have in Austria. Like we talked a lot about language models today. I think most people that join today know that LSTM, like the standard translation model, was developed in Austria by Sepp Hochreiter. He's in Linz at the JKU. And as such, yeah, you also see many startups still have this very deep techy approach, because you can only be deep tech if you have graduates which form companies which are deep tech.
Fully makes sense. I mean, bringing this together, the large network and the organization, plus Austria, which has a lot of hidden champions. I mean, trying not to make them hidden, but seen champions. Maybe a question to you, Michael. Of course, your organization is an enabler in the field of innovation. A question that is probably very interesting to the audience. What kind of events and services does ADVANTAGE Austria offer to companies in the field of innovation?
Well, I think let me start what Clemens mentioned. He mentioned that the deep tech Austrian startups, they couldn't have been that successful if they wouldn't have had a collaboration with international companies, with other people around the world. So the innovation doesn't happen in an isolated region or in an isolated country. So that's definitely true. Building something new doesn't happen in an isolated country. So our main task, a part of this innovation task, is to be a bridge builder. We want to connect companies from abroad, innovators from abroad, scholars from abroad. We want to connect them with Austrian companies. And we want to connect them through physical platforms and through digital platforms. It makes no difference. But the idea is to be this bridge builder. And by doing so, we have a couple of standard events like this digital platform you see here. We have usually trade missions. We have future journeys where we learn from top universities all over the world, be it Stanford or University in Tokyo or in Singapore. This is the standard repertoire. What the future is bringing up, we want to think more in a sense of communities. I briefly mentioned these 100 offices all over the world, and each office has, of course, their own network. Each office has their own contacts to companies, scholars, students, again, innovators. But the future idea will, how can we connect these different networks? How we can connect Singapore people with Tokyo people and with Paris people? How can we connect Sweden, New York, and South Africa? So how can we connect our contacts in this different region together, so even on innovation in a broader sense can happen, and we call it somehow network multiplicator. So we want to multiplicate our networks for even more connections all over the world. So kind of an innovation community. There's definitely approaching coming up. And last not least, we also want to bring this platform AAIC to the next level. And we are currently thinking about bringing it to use this platform, again, this network, if I may say so, as an agenda setter for all the topics concerning AI. So this is the projects which are coming up.
Thank you very much. So for everybody, keep Advantage Austria in mind when it comes to ecosystems and networks. I mean, I would like to take up one point you mentioned, and that's the point of building bridges or connecting. And an interesting question that comes to my mind looking at the AAIC, how did your collaboration start? So the collaboration of Advantage Austria and AI Austria. Maybe Clemens.
It is actually a very good question, because when you, how did you call it, the network?
Incubator, multiplicator.
Network multiplicator, it actually started with a network incubator, because in every odd year, this means 2017, 19, 21, and so on, the Advantage Austria is also organizing the MIT Europe. It's a 2-day conference. And I remember, I think both of us were like freshly back from East Asia. This was like the event in Austria, you know, no fluff. You have the best researchers in the world talking about the most forward-looking stuff, satellites for $30,000 and AI. And I still remember there were workshops in the afternoon, and the workshop on digitalization, there were like 70 people. They had the entire room for themselves. For AI, there was a table with 4 people and the MIT researcher. And I was thinking, wow, how is this possible that so few people come? But on the other hand, it was also good because you get lots of face time with the researcher. And this is how the let's say, the idea started. Yeah, let's use this and just make it bigger and make an event for it. And since the MIT Europe is taking place in every odd year anyway, let's use the even year. And we started in 2018 to make something big. And what started as an annual event is now an entire conference series. This is now the 13th event, and yeah, more to come, and broader to come, if I paraphrase what you just said regarding our plans. Maybe one last thing to add, what I think is special about it. First of all, it's still around. Most of the AI events that started 4 years ago, they went out of business. So this is like, it was correct from us to go on the applied side and also shift the focus each time, because just with a broad AI event, you will sooner or later, it will be too fluffy. You have to go into the niche. And the second one is, both of us, we are not for-profit entities. So basically, the speakers, they don't get the speaker fee. The moderators, the non-profit partner, none of us gets any fees. Also, the video crew doesn't get any fees. Nah, sorry, just kidding. But it helps in speaker recruitment. And for example, Adobe, or tomorrow we will have Sony Computer Science Labs from Paris. We had from the United Arab Emirates high-profile people. You don't get them in a paid setting, because these people go perhaps to 3 events per year, and if it's a paid event, they also ask you for like 10 or 20K. So I think this sort of providing everything for free is definitely one of the main advantages we have.
Yeah, maybe I can add, and well, it leaves me because it definitely these AAIC, they always had consistently more than 1,000 people attending. I mean, this is really a huge success. So thank you, Clemens, but thank you also the whole team behind the scenes, because they really took it off. Thank you very much at this stage for the whole team organizing it.
So thank you to the team. Thank you for bringing this up, of course. And I sense a lot of connections. So not only the Asia connection, but obviously the deep, deep passion for AI and for this event and for growing the community and bringing innovation further. Michael, I heard Advantage Austria itself considers to apply AI. Can you give us a little bit of more insider information on this?
Yeah, Clemens mentioned applied artificial intelligence, obviously the topic of the conference. And so I think each company, each organization has to think about how you can apply AI, how you can apply algorithms, how you can apply technology to improve your service, to improve your product. I mean, some companies, of course, they only live from AI, but I think each other companies have to think, how can you use this to improve your services? So Advantage Austria is a consulting company. Basically, it's a consulting company with a very strong human factor. So I think our main USP is the human-to-human connection. Our main USP is the bridge builder. And again, I'm personally convinced that even in the future, this human-to-human, the deep contact, not a fake, the deep contact, will be the main USP of a trade promotion organization or whatever organization we are, connecting people. But then, of course, there is this human premium, how we call it. Human premium means you have to think about how can we even better make this USP. Well, that's our USP. But how can we improve our USP using technology? And in that sense, we use different technologies, but also AI. And if I may mention just one project, which is still a little bit secret, it's a pilot. We call it business intelligence, where we try to using algorithms, using OSINT, open source information, using open source information and algorithms to anticipate export opportunities, to anticipate export possibilities for Austrian companies. And as I mentioned, the pilot is running, and it gets better by, I mean, the first 3 months was an information overload, what was the incoming information. So it wasn't really hopeful. We were not really hopeful there's something better, but now suddenly, from day to day, it's getting better and better and better and better. And we are now at a stage where we really, when the companies are testing it, where we say, wow, it's interesting, because it's really some information advantage we have. Well, again, anticipating export opportunities. And some of the companies, they tested it on the field, and on the field meaning the international salespeople checked it out, people sitting in the foreign countries, something they didn't know. So the algorithm was able, through open source information, to find export opportunities which the people on the ground the experts on the ground didn't see. And this is what I mean, human premium, because what happens afterwards, you get this information in, but then again, as the consulting agents, you have to verify it. Well, it doesn't help. I mean, definitely you have to verify the information. You have to talk to people. You have to talk to the people where this export opportunities project comes up. And that's the factor where we improve our services. And if easy spoken, 20 years ago, somebody sitting in India, I've been reading the newspaper, and maybe I found an interest in export opportunities. Nowadays, it pops up on my screen because the algorithm found it through open source information. And we are getting there.
Very interesting. That's another point why we do these events. We can ask about secret projects and get some responses.
Oops.
So, as mentioned before, you both have an Asia passion and connection. Maybe asking a question relating more to geographic approach, since you've both been in Asia and experienced the AI ecosystem there. Maybe starting with Clemens and then to Michael. Do you see a different approach to AI, to the technology?
Yes. Next question. No, I mean, this is an incredibly broad question. Let's start with the differences. I think the main difference, of course, is China, because China is gigantic, and China also has by far the strongest focus on AI. It's even from a government perspective, it's much stronger than in the United States, because of course the government is doing more centralized planning. So they're investing triple-digit billions in AI initiatives until 2030. So this is gigantic. It's although it's, let's say, steered by the government, it's still venture capital driven. And what's interesting is that you both have consumer internet companies, think of TikTok or think of Alibaba, which are doing trade, or also think of lots of autonomous driving or e-commerce and so on. But at the same time, China is also, they say in their 5-year plan that one of the stated goals is to raise the degree of automatization so that you no longer need to outsource later on production to even lower cost countries. So I find this, in my opinion, the most interesting point in China, because this is very concrete. It's not something, we need X% of growth and Y% of efficiency. No, they say they want to be the last location where production was moved to for efficiency reasons or for cost reasons, because the Chinese government somehow is otherwise afraid that if the costs are rising in China, production will sooner or later go to Vietnam, to further Southeast Asia, to Africa, and so on. And they really see automation and AI as a central tool to avoid this from happening. And that's what I mean. This is a very concrete thing that you can see up until 2030. As far as Japan is concerned, I would look in your direction.
Yeah, I could discuss about China now for hours, but that's probably not the right. Because I tried to answer this question on a more general approach, because I think it's an interesting question. You talked about, are the Asians adopting technologies like AI? So it's the general approach. In a different way than Europeans or Americans. This was how I understood the question, and it made me thinking, because I think, well, basically, if it comes to incremental you mentioned adopting new technologies. So in my sense, it's incremental, so the small step innovations, adopting new incremental innovation. I would say yes, the Asians are very good. I mean, if not Japan, if you talk about Japan and Southeast Asia, they are excellent, I think, when it comes to incremental innovation. Small step, improving the products, adopting early adopters for the new technologies. When it comes to disruptive innovation, no, again, Japan. I mean, I don't know. When the last one was maybe the when you've been there too, it's the Walkman in the...
That was like
40 years.
I still have one at home.
See, it was,
Relic.
but you can use it now in a museum probably. It was the disruptive innovation, which kind of, well, it was disruptive. This was a disruptive, but since then, I'm not that sure, maybe in the life science field. But so in my opinion, this is now very general. The Asians are better in incremental innovation, and they're very good in that. Very, very early adopters, even Southeast Asia, e-commerce, all this kind of stuff. No, but they're not, I mean, say it in a more diplomatic way. But for Europe and America, there's still a chance to be good in this disruptive innovation. So bringing really completely new concepts into the field. So that could be our chance also.
A very good point and a very good call to action to kind of like take our chances in this field. Talking about chances, challenges, and surprises. Clemens, what was the biggest surprise or the most surprising finding, learning of today's session?
Of all the sessions together, I think the broad scope of use cases, and in some cases, the duration over which it happened. So you saw from several speakers like Adobe, Accenture, or Michael Katzelberger, in the end, this is not something these people were doing for the last 12 months because, suddenly there are AI applications. They've been doing this for years and years and years. And it's interesting to see that, especially in the area of marketing, sales, and business intelligence, it's no longer a question if you should do it, like if you should apply AI, but you have such a broad scope of applications that the question is more, when should I use what? And I think this is, especially if I look back 2018 and 19, when last time we had the events here taking place, within a selected vertical, you had relatively few applications. And if you think, for example, of industry and manufacturing, like every company wanted to say they do predictive maintenance, like when will the machine break? And they will do quality control, like is the thing that the machine is producing, is it defective or not? And in the marketing and sales side, this is totally different. You have hundreds of different use cases and applications, and it doesn't matter if you're a software company, if you're a service provider, if you're an agency, even even if it's an agency, are you a creative agency, or is it more like performance marketing and so on, up to a government agency? The scope of tools here is just mind-blowing.
Taking it up on that mind-blowing point and all the opportunities that are outside there. And of course, that this is not only kind of like an event for content and connection, but in particular also for B2B matchmaking and marketing. A question to you, Michael, which B2B matchmaking and networking events are still on your agenda?
Well, there are a lot. Actually, we organize about 10 per week now, but for the big ones, I mean, for the somewhere in the world, obviously. So, so there's usually 10 trade missions per week somewhere, anywhere in the world. Now, but the big platform, as I said, I think we try to be a bridge builder. We want to leverage the context we have abroad, meaning the buyers of Austrian, of possibly Austrian products, the buyers, the salespeople, we bridge them and we connect them with the Austrian companies. We obviously focus on Austria's core competencies. I mean, there's one is AI, as we just mentioned during the last 20, 30 minutes in the discussions. One is GreenTech. We had a huge platform, B2B platform like we do today, couple of 1 or 2 weeks ago, with about 2,000 people from all over the world participating. We have an upcoming another strength field, Food and Beverages Marketplace. I mean, Austria is also well known for its food and beverages worldwide. And this is somehow our largest platform happening at the same time here in Austria, with about 100 companies here in this house, and we bring about 150 buyers from all over the world to Austria. But the interesting thing is, it happens. We have also tastings and B2B meetings all over the world. So we do the same at the same time, happening in Vienna, in Korea, in Japan, in New York, and in South Africa. So we do tastings at the same time, just a different place in the world. So that's the food marketplace, and there will be again machinery, another strength in Austria, another core competencies. There's the machinery days also happening somehow in autumn.
Wonderful. So rounding up our interview, and thank you to the two guests, to all the participants nationally and internationally. Keep in mind ADVANTAGE Austria, their broad international network, all the opportunities they provide for B2B matchmaking and networking, and the Applied AI conference and AI Austria, the ecosystem network player here. And thank you, Michael. Thank you, Clemens, for joining us for this interview. And to the participants, please stay tuned for our next keynote session, which we'll be announcing soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.